Hey, hello. Thank you for joining another session of Coding with Tapas. So, before I get started with today's session, I would like to thank all my new subscribers for subscribing to this channel. So, it really means a lot to me. If you're still not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe because I create content on JavaScript, web development, career development, productivity, GitHub, all this topic. All right. So today's topic is GitHub, and this video is going to be shorter than my usual videos. And this topic is very interesting. So what we're going to discuss about today's topic is like we're going to talk about a few pointers, a few points that can make your GitHub repositories really catchy for someone to contribute, someone to use, and even for you to grow your followers on GitHub, your stars, possibly the sponsors, all those aspects of it. So these are all very critical aspects if you are doing your side hustles, putting it in a GitHub, and you want people to look into it, you want people to contribute to it, you want people to motivate you with stars or probably sponsor you. You got to do some of these things, right? So before we get started, a very short introduction about what GitHub is. So GitHub is basically a collection of tools that allows you to perform version control of your files and folders and manage them in much better way with all the Git mechanisms into under one umbrella. So that's what GitHub does. So like GitHub, there are of course other vendors like Bitbucket. They also do the similar thing. They facilitate your Git usage much friendly way. But GitHub is, in my opinion, is well ahead because it is the entire environment and the ecosystem is so solid, and I kind of keep enjoying using it, right? So what I'm going to do is like we're going to first go through very quickly the GitHub interfaces and the repositories and things like that, and then straight away we are going to get started with those pointers that is going to help you a lot in terms of creating, managing and maintaining your GitHub repositories. Before I start, one warning. I have seen many people doing this mistake. They think Git and GitHub are same. Git and GitHub are really not same. They are entirely different. Git is a version control mechanism where your folder and files history are maintained. The change history is maintained so that you can go back to history anytime. Anybody can actually take your file changes from a particular point, make their changes, again change in the history, commit it back. So this entire mechanism is Git. GitHub is a bunch of tools that comes together to facilitate all these things with pretty much easily. So GitHub is a tool, Git is the mechanism. Please keep in mind this is very important lesson for all of us, all the beginners basically, to understand. So without wasting any further time, let's start looking into one of the GitHub interfaces. And if you don't have GitHub yet, please go ahead and sign up with the link that I provided in the description of this video. So once you log into GitHub, you get to kind of see an interface like this, and with this interface you can do a lot of stuff. So the first thing that you get to see is a repository. So here this is my GitHub and I have a bunch of repositories already here. So you see a bunch of repositories, and then you also get to see like options like you can create a project, you can maintain your packages. We are not going to get into all these things. What we're going to do now, we're going to talk about 10 valuable pointers. So let's get started. Point number 1. So our point number 1 starts with creating your repository. So if you create a repository, you do this by clicking on this new button. So once you create a repository, you need to make sure that you provide certain metadata information about your repository such that this is very clear for anybody who would like to contribute to your repository. So for example, a repository name, of course, this is a mandatory field that you have to give. So let me give a repository name called model repo. You can give any name. So I've given a name called model repo, and it's good practice that if you have kind of 2 words and then You hyphen them. Okay, I already have a repository like this, so model repository. So you'll do a model repository. So you separate with a hyphen character. And the next thing that you need to do, this is very important, is like you give a very clear description of what is this repository about. So we'll say like this repository contains all the best practices about managing GitHub repository. This is what we're going to say. And then you have a choice that whether you want to make this repository public or you want to make this repository private. Public means anyone with the link to your repository should be able to see what is there inside, and they will be able to kind of clone that repository and things like that. Private means it is only available to you, the visibility only available to you, but you can also select like who are the other people you would like them to kind of view your repository. You can select that. Now while you create a repository, there are two very important points. One is like you must add a readme file. So a readme file is the face of your repository, where you are going to explain very clearly that what are your intention for this particular repository, what you want to do, and you want to convey a lot of messages to your users who wants to kind of make use of this repository. Then the next thing you must do is choosing a license. So it is very, very unlikely that someone will be willing to contribute to your code if they don't know under which kind of license this particular repository source code is in. Also, people won't be willing to use your code or a product out of this code if they are not very sure like what is the licensing model you are actually asking them to opt for. So there are various licensing model available. In general, MIT is the one that is used mostly for the open source. So you can select this MIT license, and if you have any other licenses in your mind, any other licenses type, yeah, please, you can actually choose that. Now, how do you select like which license model you should go for? I think you might have that doubt in your mind. I have always. So in case you have that doubt, go to this particular link. It's called chooselicense.com. So what chooselicense.com does is like it guides you through few questionnaires and few pointers through which you will be able to pick up what kind of license you are looking for based on what kind of project basically you have. So I have given a link of this one into the description of the video. Please go ahead and check it out whenever you create a new project. Makes sense. So it's time to create a repository. So I'm going to create a repository. It's going to take a few seconds and it will create a repository. Great. So I have a repository created. So this is really cool thing. I remember selecting readme file. I think the readme file is just there. I have to just click on this model repository. Yes. So it's got created with readme.md and a license file. Now, once you have created this, you can actually set few more metadata for your repository. And how do you do that? You do that by clicking on this icon. So you click on this icon. About is already added. If you want to modify, you can do. And the next thing that you might want to do is add your website, or if you have a blog link or your portfolio website link. And then the important part here, add certain topics. So this is about GitHub, so I'm adding GitHub as a topic. Maybe it is about open source, so as an open source as a topic, and then I save my changes. How these topics are helpful? So if someone is making search on the repositories, public repositories available on this particular topic, there are higher chances that your repository is come up in that search, qualify for the search. So our first thing that we discussed, it's about setting the metadata of your repository correctly, so that whoever looking into your repository, they get a feeling that what it is about, and they actually get some kind of attention towards it. Number 2. Okay. So the number 2 tips is to design and document a good readme file. So I have created an initial readme.md file, but this readme.md file is kind of blank, right? So we need to start creating a good readme.md file. I told you that if your source code is heart of your repository, your readme.md file is the face of your repository. If that is not documented well, then people are not going to understand what is this repository for and what are they going to use for. So how do you create a good, what exactly consists of a good readme.md file? There are various things that we are going to talk about, right? So I am going to show you project with a good readme.md file, and we will talk about like what are the sections that we might want to check. So let's go to that project. Get the GitHub of this one. So check this. All right, so this readme starts with a logo. So a project name and a logo is something attracts a lot of people to look into like what is this particular repository is about. Right after that, there is a catch line about what is this particular project is about. This project that I'm showing right now, it's about a tool that helps you in creating shapes. So it says that you can actually create, export, share shapes using this. Then I have used certain certain shields to tell that what is the stat for this repository. For example, what is the license, how many forks happened, how many stars this repository has, how many open issues, and things like that. So you can create this one pretty easily with shields.io. There is a website called shields.io. You can actually go ahead and create that. I have given the link in the description of this video, so you can actually pick up from there. Right after that, I have an introduction section, and then if your repository is about a tool or an application, maybe you can just post a screenshot of that. That is pretty eye-catchy. Then give a little bit more detailed description about it. So a little bit more description helps your GitHub users to kind of connect to like what is this repository about. Right after that, you get into a demo. If your repository is about an application, you can already have an application demo. So please link that, the demo link. Then I think that next thing that you can do, this is pretty optional, but I think it worked for me, is like you thank the people who given a start to your project, who motivated you, basically your stargazers. So you actually thank them, and you can use certain tools and utilities that people have already implemented to create a card like that, where it shows your your recent four stargazers with their profile photo and all. It's like a kind of appreciations, like you have motivated me and I want to showcase you. So how to do that? The link is anyway there in the description of this video. Again, you just kind of put it over there, and then you have this thing done, and then you can tell like how to use this particular application, and then you get down to saying like what kind of features your application has. So you list down all these features. Usage of emojis are good in Readme because that kind of make it look like a bit attractive, but the word of caution is don't overuse it. The next thing would be like how to set up your this repository locally. So how do you do this? And then you can actually want to explain like what are the tools and technologies basically used to build this particular application in your Readme so that everybody can connect. Then you reiterate about license, where people can actually start thinking about whether they should be how they should be contributing and how they should be consuming. So this is where you can talk about licenses. You will also talk about upcoming features. This is again optional. If you want to talk about upcoming features, please talk about upcoming features of your application. Then you provide, if it is applicable, provide the deploy buttons. So you can deploy to some of these very well-known services, for example, Vercel or Netlify or Gatsby Cloud. You can actually put all these buttons side by side, and so the single click somebody should be able to deploy this repo. And then you talk about how to contribute. And there are two important documents. One is like contributing, and this code of conduct. We're going to talk about that in a while, so hold on. You put them over here, and then finally everybody needs motivation. So getting a start is definitely a motivation. You can also, if you have an account with Buy Me Coffee or any other sponsorship, you can highlight them here. So if somebody is very generous to kind of sponsor you, they will be able to do it just by clicking on this. And then if it is an open source repository, like you have multiple contributors contributing to it, you can highlight all the contributors, with their kind of contributions that they are making. You can highlight them, and this highlighting you can do with the help of all contributors tool. So there is a tool called all contributors. You can check that all contributors repo. You have all the instruction of how to kind of include that in your repository so that your contributors kind of come up. I have also provided this link into the description so you can see that. It is very easy to kind of get started with any of this existing Readme. For example, if you get this link and you come and kind of edit this particular Readme, you get everything basically. So you can copy and then start doing some changes to make it your own. So that is one other approach that you can do. Another approach is like use an existing repo as a template and then create your own repo out of it. That is I'm going to show in a while. Okay, so my second point is about getting your Readme done really well. And if you get the Readme done well, you are going to get many engagement on your GitHub repository. Number 3. So the third point I'm going to talk about is about building your community profile. What exactly a community profile is? So if you have a public repository and you want to keep it like an open source repository and you want other people to look into it, contribute to it, know about it, you need to build your repository's community profile so that it can be part of community and gets a lot of attractions from people. To do that, you go to this particular tab called Insights, and after going to Insights, come to Community. Now you see this is your community profile, and you see this community profile is kind of incomplete. So you have a description, you have a Readme, you can see the tick, you have a license because you have added this, but you still don't have any code of conduct, you still don't have any contributing guide, you still don't have issue template, pull request and things like that. So let us just get started with creating everything and making this complete. So first thing that we are going to get started with code of conduct. Number 4. So what is a code of conduct and why do you exactly need it? So a code of conduct, we also call it COC, is a document that helps to define the standards of engaging in a community. As the community grows, you have people joining from different geographies, cultures and mindsets. So as the owner of the repository, it is completely your responsibility to set some guidance of conduct, like how people should behave. Now GitHub provides a couple of options to select from. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll click on add and I'll be given few options. So one is like recommended for projects for all sizes, suitable for the large communities and events. You can select based on whatever you need. Most of the time I select this guy, which is recommended for all side of projects. And you see that there is a document already given over here. Only thing that you need to do is to provide the email ID of the user or of the owner of this particular repository, so that in case there is an unacceptable behavior, your community folks know like who to go ahead and who to talk about it, and then just do a review and submit. So once you do a review and submit, what GitHub does is like it asks you like, do you want to create a new repository, new branch for this and then create a pull request and merge it, or you want to directly commit it to main? I think I'm quite confident that I can directly commit it to main. If you're not comfortable doing that, always create a new branch and pull request. So go ahead and commit this new file. And now what you'll see, we have a code of conduct there. So now in our readme.md file, if I just link this code of conduct the way that I showed for this TriSharp repository at the bottom, like when we have that contribution part, let me just quickly go over there. Yeah, it's here. So you have this code of conduct link. So when somebody click on this, it will go this particular repository's code of conduct. Similarly, you can also link it from your readme so that people know it very upfront. There are various other code of conducts, good code of conducts documents available online. For example, you can look into Twitter's code of conduct or Angular or Rust, and you can just take that and then do some modification based on your need. I have provided those links as well into the description of this video, so you can actually pick that up. One important point about code of conduct: never ever forget to give the contact method, the email ID, because without that, your community members don't know where to reach out and what to do. Hope you understood this. Number 5. So the next one, the number 5, is about writing the contributing guide. What exactly contributing guide is? You may want to set some expectation for the contributors to the repository. Here you explain how to create an issue, how to create a pull request, under what circumstances a pull request may get rejected or may get accepted, right? So that is where you should be creating a contributing.md file. Now, unlike code of conduct, once you click on contributing.md file, you don't get any suggestions. Then your options are, you can actually take from somewhere a good contributing.md file and then you make it your own, basically. So there are plenty of templates available. One of the things that we can do right now is like we can take a contributing.md file from here, right? So we can go here, contributing.md. This contributing.md is kind of very well written, I think, and it is working for open source already. So I can go ahead and pick this, come here and paste it. So again, you need to make sure that under the enforcement section, you have the owner's email ID in case it is my email ID. So again, that they know like who to contact in case they get to. And then the next thing, commit this file. And then we have contributing.md over here. And again, you can link that from the readme file. So if I go back to insights again, and then come to community, now I see that I have description, readme, code of conduct, contributing license already. The next thing that we are going to talk about is our issue template. Number 6. Now we are going to talk about issue templates and what is the use of an issue template. So how would you feel if someone create an issue on your repository, like probably a bug or an enhancement request, just with a one-liner? Sometimes you may not be able to infer like what the person, the reporter is like to communicate, right? So it is important for you to guide them through certain ways, certain pointers, so that whenever they create a new issue, they create it with some amount of information that you expect, right? So GitHub provides a few issue templates and you can also create your own. So let's go ahead and start creating an issue template. So here you get, what you get to see is like add template. So you can do a bug template. You can also do a feature template. And each of these template comes with certain standards pointers, which you can actually edit by going there. If you are not satisfied with any of these templates, what you can do, basically, you can go ahead and create your custom template. So let's create a custom template just to show, like, you can go with a custom template, you can then preview and edit it. And you can actually say like, what kind of information you want in this template, right? You can give a name, for example, video request, or let's say article request, maybe that is better, article request. So if you want somebody to request an article, you can do article request and say, please request an article here. Then you start saying like what and all you want them to fill is like name of, okay, not name, let's say suggested title. Then you want a small description. How soon do you need it? That's all basically. And then what we'll be doing is like you can actually assign it to yourself by default, so that the issue, whenever the issue gets created, it is get assigned. And you can also say like what kind of this, probably documentation. So I'll add it as documentation level, and that's pretty much it. We are done with this particular issue creation. So now what we'll be doing, we'll be propose these changes, and we'll be again committing this to our repository. Now see, A GitHub folder has already created. Inside that there is an issue template, and inside the issue template I'm seeing there are 3 templates. One is article request, one is bug report, one is feature request. So what happened now? Let's say I'm going to create an issue on this repository with a new issue. I'll be given an option. Am I going to do an article request? Am I going to create a bug, or am I going to create a feature request? This is what is very important, because now your users knows, you are directing your users like what you want them to do. Let's say I came here for doing an article request. I will do get started. See here, it is like I need, and okay, so the title, there is a typo here. So suggested title is arrays in JavaScript. Tell me all about the array methods, and then how soon? Let's say tomorrow. I hope nobody asks like that. And then you see that assignee is already set, label is already set, so somebody will be able to give a submit the issue. So the title is like arrays in JavaScript. Alright, and then you submit a new issue. So you see that this is now with a particular format that for me now it is very easy to know like what is this issue came for, and I can actually do a lot of execution on this. So I hope this issue template you understood, and this is another one that is pretty important for us to make sure that how we get the engagement going for our repository. Number 7. Alright, so we have done most of the checklist. The last thing that is pending is a pull request template. So that's our number 7 item that we are going to talk about now. Like the issue templates, you should also guide your contributors with the creation of your pull request, like a PR, right? So you can create a template for PR as well. So for doing that, what we have to do, we have to go to our repository, click on this add file, and then do create new file. And what you can do is basically you can actually create a file called pull request template.md. So this is the name that you can do, pull request template.md. Now you can create this file anywhere in the repo, but what I prefer is like as you already have a .github folder created for you, and it has this issue template and things like that, you can actually create that inside this, so that all your this custom templates and all are in the same place. So I'll go ahead and create a new file here under .github, and we'll give this name, and then we have to give some template. Now this template is completely depending on you, what exactly you want to do, like how do you want to create, you want your folks to create a pull request template is completely to you. So again, you can take from any of the existing project, or you can completely create your own. Let me just try looking into it here, So I'll go ahead and under this .github, I don't have a pull request template unfortunately for this one. So maybe that's something that I need to create. But again, let's create one right away. So let's say pointers. Make sure there is an issue for this pull request. Make sure to provide the test details. Make sure to give a screenshot of the fix. Let's say this is your expectation, like whenever somebody create a pull request, that's fair enough. So just create a pull request template. So we have a pull request template. So now if somebody create a pull request on your branch, try to create a pull request on your branch, or inside your repository, what they're going to see, they'll be thrown with this information that what you're expecting basically from a pull request template. So if I go to my insights now and go to community, what am I going to see? It's all done. So your community profile checklist is built. Believe me, anybody is willing to do a open source contribution to your repository, this is the first place that they come in. And once they see like all the check boxes are checked, it is 100%, they feel this particular repository is kind of trusted, and they can actually really use it, make use of it in the right way. Right? So hope this was useful. Let's move into our next point. Point 8. So our next point is about creating some social awareness about your repository in right way. So what you can do to make this happen, go inside the settings of your repository and then add a social preview of your repository, so that whenever you share this on the social media like Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever, this image actually going to talk about what is this repository about. Right, so this creates a kind of first impression for your repository, and somebody would be willing to click on it and try to see like what they are expecting inside this repository. So do that, click on edit, upload an image, and you can create an image with this dimension 640 by 320, and then choose an image of your choice. So let me just go ahead and try to show you by selecting an image quickly. Okay. Alright, so I have created a image already, and I think this is the one. Yes, this is the one, also fine. So I'll select this. So this image will be uploaded, and you see this image is set. So right now, if you share this repository anywhere, this model repo is going to come up as an image, as a social image for you, and this is going to make things look pretty attractive. So please use the social image always for your public repositories. Point 9. So the point 9 is about getting sponsorship. Who doesn't want motivations? So Star is definitely a way to motivate people, but what if there are ways to get sponsorship for your work and you project it right away from your GitHub repositories? So to do it is possible to do that. Go to settings and then scroll down, and here you have something called sponsorship. So click on sponsorship. So the sponsorships is help your community to know like what kind of financial support you need, and for that you have to set up a sponsor button so that somebody can click on it and start sponsoring you. So set up sponsor button. Once you click on that, so again under the .github folder, it's going to create something called funding.yml file. You have to modify this file. Now if you already have a GitHub sponsors activated for you, you just give your user ID over there. After this, I think you are all set. If you have Patreon, you can do that, or if you have any of these things, you can actually set it up. If you don't have any of this and you have say buy me a coffee, or you have from PayPal, any of these links, so what you can do basically, you can set up a custom link. So let me use a custom link over here. So this is my custom link. I have a buy me a coffee link, and I have something from my Hashnote sponsors. So this will be done. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to commit this file. So once this file is committed, I'll be able to see something very interesting. I'll click over here. You see here, now a sponsors button has appeared. So anybody coming to your repository, they'll be able to see the sponsor button. They'll be able to click on this, and next they'll be able to start sponsoring you right away. So they can go to your sponsor channel, and they kind of come to know about lot about your sponsorship, and so they kind of sponsor you right away from here. So this is pretty interesting. I love this feature a lot, and also they get to see your sponsoring information from here. Even in case they miss this button, they get to see this over here. So this is pretty important. Make sure you do it. It doesn't cost anything. You have some way to sponsor you, and then attach that with your repository. Point 10. So we are the last point. So the last point is about reusability. So if you create something, a repository which can be a starting point for somebody else to create a repository, I think you should be doing that always. So for doing that, you can actually make your repository as a template repository. So once a repository, a template repository, when somebody create a repository, they can use your repository as a base to create theirs, right? So you'll see that. So once you go to settings you have something called a template repository. Check this checkbox. So template repository let user generate a new repository with the same directory structure and file of yours. So which is like pretty interesting. So once you've done this, go to model repository. Now you will see one thing. You will see a new button called use this template. So whenever somebody come to your repository, they get to see this button if your repository is a template repository. And what they can do, okay, this repository looks really exciting. So let's go ahead and click on this and start creating my repository from this repository. You see this? Now I'm creating a repository from the template and I'm creating a new repository. This is really awesome thing that you can actually do to help folks, and I'm sure that's going to help a lot of people. So I hope that you enjoyed all the 10 points that we have discussed now. So let's recap the pointers one by one. So first point is about create the metadata correctly with the name, descriptions and all these things. Second, put a very good readme.md file. Third is like you put your community profile. So there you can do like your fourth is like your contributor code of conduct. Fifth is your contributor. Sixth is your issue template. Seventh is your pull request. Then eighth is like put a social message. Ninth is like do a sponsorship, and 10th is like make your repository as a template repository. Once you do that, believe me, you are going to get many more tractions on your repository. There will be many people will be interested to look into it. Probably they follow you. You can increase your followers on GitHub. They will probably feel more confident to contribute. They'll be more confident to use your code from the code repository. So please use these tips. Don't forget to look into the description of this video, because I have shared some very cool, interesting and important links for you to kind of support this once you do this settings and setup. And as usual, if you like this video, please put a like and feel free to comment. And if you have any questions, I'm available on Twitter. You can always DM me over there. Please subscribe to this video, because it means a lot to me. It's a lot of encouragement for me to make much better videos in the future. So please take a good care of yourself, and until I publish another video next time, take a good care. Bye.